Hi, everyone. It's just gone 4 p.m., so I'm going to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to the inaugural Touchstone webinar. To our guests from Asia, good afternoon, and to our guests from Europe and Africa, good morning. My name is Rohan, and I'm the Managing Director of GIFT.ed. Many of you are familiar with us, but for the benefit of those of you who don't know us, we are the virtual learning arm of the Global Institute for Tomorrow, a Pan-Asian think tank that helps organizations navigate the complexities of the 21st century. GIFT.ed builds on 20 years of GIFT's work around the region, and our mission is to empower professionals with strategic foresight and global awareness in an era where these skills are needed more than ever. And at GIFT.ed, we are launching the Touchstone Webinar series for our clients, which will take place once a quarter to help trigger conversations, prompt actions, and even shift mindsets on some of the biggest contemporary topics of our time. Each webinar will be attended by some of the world's most respected leaders and thinkers. And on that note today, I'm thrilled to introduce you to our first guest speaker, Pak Sandiaga Uno, or Pak Sandi as he's referred to. Pak Sandi is one of those rare leaders whose career is marked by success in both the private and public sectors, with a remarkable track record of service to Indonesia and the broader ASEAN region. Pak Sandi has served as the Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy of Indonesia, where he led transformative initiatives to boost Indonesia's global tourism standing and drive economic growth. And in his role as Deputy Governor of Jakarta, he worked on critical urban development projects and initiatives that improve the lives of millions of Indonesians. Beyond his political career, Pak Sandi is a successful entrepreneur and investor, co-founding Saratoga Investama Sedaya, one of Indonesia's leading investment firms, which has played a role in supporting business growth across Southeast Asia. Today, we're fortunate to hear directly from Pak Sandi on his insights and personal experiences on the relationship between innovation and economic resilience for the ASEAN region. And in conversation with Pak Sandi, we have Chandran Nair, the founder of GIFT.ed. Chandran is one of Asia's foremost thought leaders on macro trends relating to economics, geopolitics, and organizational management, being an adjunct professor at Hong Kong University of Science and Technology and Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy, as well as a regular speaker at the World Economic Forum. The final thing from me is we'd like this to be an interactive session. So please feel free to drop your questions in the chat, and we will make sure to filter these through to our speakers during the Q&A section. That's it from me. Chandran, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Rohan. Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone. Rohan's in KL, Kuala Lumpur. Pak Sandi, my distinguished friend, is in Jakarta. And today I'm in Hong Kong. I hope to be in KL on Thursday, such as the world we live in. So let me just start by saying for a minute what Rohan said, that the Touchstone webinar is the first that we are launching. Today's is the first that we're launching. To bring about dialogues that don't take place commonly around people that live in our part of the world, but also in issues that perhaps are dealt in ways that many of us feel are superficial, perhaps, or not relevant to the economic realities of our times in different parts of the world. So I am delighted that we have Pak Sandi as our first distinguished speaker. The topic that we will discuss in the hour that we have is economic resilience, innovation for ASEAN's future. I just would like to lay a bit of background to this, and Pak Sandi will make his opening remarks after that. I think it's fair to say that most of us anywhere in the world will see the world we live in as rather turbulent, a world that we didn't expect in 2025 to be as perhaps fraught as it is, and worrisome even. Yet at the same time, it's fair to say that we in Asia have perhaps escaped, despite the fact that we have the largest population of people are so disenfranchised, etc. But we have probably escaped the worst in terms of war, conflict, and things like that. ASEAN, I think it's fair to say, remains a beacon of hope, not just in the Asia-Pacific region, but in fact in the world. With a population of about 700 million, perhaps speaking about 1 billion, there's a hell of a lot to do, but also a huge amount of opportunities. And it's fair to say that every time I go back to ASEAN, travel to Indonesia, Vietnam, Malaysia, Singapore, there is an overwhelming feeling that although the world is troubled, there is a feeling that things can get better and people will work hard, avoid conflict, work together, understand, and build what we're talking about today, which is resilience. So in the face of all of these geopolitical tensions, the issues to do with climate change, resource scarcity, or the scramble for resources, it's fair to say that many countries are looking at the future with both anticipation of how to do things better. And in the region, ASEAN has escaped some of the worst sort of things that could befall a region. And ASEAN has survived many crises, but surviving a crisis is not the same as building resilience. Resilience is about adaptation, foresight, and looking at how one protects public and common goods, etc. And this is where innovation comes in, and this is where what we call systems level innovation comes in. And I think Pak Sandi is well equipped to talk to us about this, both coming from an investment background and his many years of public service. And far too often, the discussion is about innovation simply as technology. But technology bereft of social innovation, public policy innovation, can only go so far, as we're beginning to see in certain realms of technological advancement as well. So unlocking human potential, particularly in a large country like Indonesia, is probably the area where the greatest amount of innovation is needed. So I'd want to open up by inviting Pak Sandi to make his remarks and to leave everyone with the thought that, it's often said when I lived in Africa, that if you want Africa to develop, you need South Africa or Nigeria to thrive. And I think it's fair to say in our ASEAN context, given that Indonesia is the biggest nation in the region, if you want ASEAN to thrive, you need Indonesia to thrive, be resilient, and help with the region. So Pak Sandi, delighted to have you. Over to you, please.
Thank you, Pak Chandran Nair, a very good friend of mine, and I'm really delightful to be the first guest of this webinar as a part of the Touchstone webinar run by GIFT.ed. And Happy New Year to all of you who's joining in from all over the world. I'm very happy that this week many of you have good break during the Christmas and New Year's break, and we started the year, and for some of you, your first working week having this webinar. Chandran and I have been a very good friend for a number of years, and actually towards the tail end of my private sector's career, I had a chance to speak to Chandran in various occasions, and I've already valued the relationship that we have, and it got carried through my service in both the capital city of Jakarta, where when I served as a vice governor, and towards my tenure as minister in the central government. And I believe that this session is also attended by friends from DBS Bank, friends from Chow Power G Group, and SEG Automotive. One aspect of ASEAN that is part of our culture is how we are very interconnected. And true that Indonesia is the largest country in ASEAN, but in the past, many of 100 years ago, we're part of, I would say, one of the largest kingdom in Southeast Asia called Majapahit. And the concept of Nusantara was actually including all of the Indonesian archipelago and parts of the Southeast Asia countries. So the concept of ASEAN as a one unit of both economic and political entities have all been sought by our ancestors, and we have been trading in the past. We have been cross-investing, and we also share same culture. For instance, the shirt that I'm wearing is using the Chinese color, which is also used by the Muslims around the Southeast Asia to celebrate either Friday prayer or also the Islamic New Year and Ramadan month. Another feature of ASEAN is softball. This is what we are wearing in different part of Southeast Asia. In Indonesia, certainly now, our President Prabowo wears it, and ministers, the male ministers wear this, but also in Malaysia and other parts of Southeast Asia. Another part of the culture of Southeast Asia is Pantun. And Pantun is it's like a poem of 4 lines with rhymes at the end. And in the year 2020, Pantun is recognized as the intangible cultural heritage initiated by Indonesia and Malaysia. So let me start our interactions today with a couple of opening Pantun. Okay, and it should be rhymings. The river glimmers under the moon. Stars above shine bright and true. Together we share this optimistic tune. With Chandran and GIFT, let's build a future for ASEAN and me and you. That's the first Pantun. Second Pantun, golden sunsets, the market sway. Fruits of hard work shine ever clear. Innovation, adaptations, collaborations paves the way for ASEAN economic growth. Through resilience, we persevere. So that's the 2 Pantun I made as the start of these discussions. The topic of economic resilience and innovations could not be outstaged by a better theme. This is a theme that we really need in the turbulence that we're seeing through geopolitics, through trade tensions, economic tensions among the global powers, also climate change issues. Recently, that we even have some of the biggest fires seen in west coast of the United States in California. I used to visit the area a lot in the past, but through climate change, high winds, and the ultimate dryness, it created one of the biggest forest fires that affected hundreds and thousands, if not millions, of people around the area in west coast of the United States, in the state of California. Our thoughts and prayers are with them now as they battle the continuing inferno. And I believe that these are actually part of throughout the remaining months, weeks and months ahead of 2025 that we need to build our resilience. When I started my public sectors, I brought in some of the private sector's knowledge that we developed over the years. And we believe that the private sectors bring entrepreneurial mindset in terms of approach in solving problems and challenges that we see in the public sectors. So in the private sectors, the entrepreneurial rests on three key pillars. First is innovations. The innovations allow entrepreneurs to be able to solve the problems with out of the box thinking. The second pillar that we're seeing is the dare to take risk. And this is the courage to think out of the box and implement it, even if it's not been tried before. So, dare to take risk is the second sort of like value that private sectors embrace, and I brought it over also to the public sector. And the third element is proactiveness. In the public sectors, we are not encouraged to take risk and to be proactive because you're supposed to be keeping your job to be safe. But without being proactive, we're not going to be able to advance. So there's three key things: innovations, dare to take risks, the willingness to take risks, and proactivities. And proactiveness are the three key elements that carry us through challenging times throughout my almost 10 years in the public sectors. But if you have to press to one aspect, it has to be innovations. And through innovations, we could build resilience. For instance, on the economic side, when we look at the challenges of 2025 and beyond, and I think this is already also being tested and tried throughout political cycles and also elections, are the two key things that the economics aspects have to deal with, which is first is how to create good quality jobs. And jobs are created through economic growth, expansions of economic activities, private sectors opening up factories, innovations that actually enable us to do our things better, cheaper, and faster. Other than jobs, the second challenges that we're seeing for this economic resilience are inflations. And it's actually simply for the common people as prices. The pressure on cost of livings, cost of educations, cost of health are keys to how we could handle and be more resilient. And through the pandemic, COVID, we have been able, through various ways, handle these issues about jobs through technology and now AI. Our jobs has transformed into a more efficient and more in ability to create value. And inflations, especially post-COVID, when we had to do economic stimulus, printing money, have become a challenge. And inflations are key issues in many of the global economies and also in the ASEAN economies, and particular Indonesia. But through collaborations, we are able to tame the inflations, and in some of the economies in Southeast Asia, we're able to bring down the inflations to a benign level. Now, the key issues for 2025 is, I would say, how we could maintain the economic growth that create good quality jobs, as well as maintaining the affordable cost of livings, and in particular, keeping price stable. And this is where global economic growth is projected to be around 2.8% in 2025. And global inflation is actually coming down. With interest rate is also coming down at the same time. Global inflation is expected to be about 3.5% of 2025. Now, if we take a deep dive on Southeast Asia, Indonesia, being the largest economy, is projecting around 5% economic growth for 2025. This is actually under the new president, Pak Prabowo Subianto, is below what the projected growth that we are targeting, which is 8% towards the 2028, 2029 time frame. And this hopefully will be able to bring the region's economic growth to go up. Vietnam has been very remarkable with growth rates projected to be north of 6, closer to 7% in 2025. The Philippines also have posted very growth projections of north of 6% to around mid 6, 7%. Malaysia growth are projected at around 4% plus, and Thailand a modest growth of 3%. So in terms of economic activities and jobs resiliency, I would say that Southeast Asia would be seeing a healthy economic growth. However, the problem is the ability to create good quality jobs, because technology, including AI, now are starting to replace some of the jobs that are being used to be created by the private sectors through government policies as well, including factories now using more and more robotics. And therefore, how do we upskill, reskill, and new skill our workforce so that they are going to be prepared for the new technology arriving and the economic expansions happening. Secondly, I think from the upskilling, reskilling, and new skilling activities, also the needs to focus on 3 key areas that I think our economy is going to be face some challenges. First is sustainability, how we could grow but continue to be sustainable in staying as a low carbon economy. So sustainability is one big key issues that 2025 and beyond will continue to face. Secondly, would be adopting a more digitalized and technology heavy business process, as well as economic transformations. So the role of digitalizations, and now we're having AI as a key component to it, how this policymakers, business leaders will adapt to it. And the third, I would say the remarkable shift in the focus to healthcare and life sciences. The book of Outlive by Peter Attia now is one of the bestsellers, because more and more post-COVID, people are more interested in making sure that their health is going to be first and foremost their priority. Another aspect that I want to touch in this opening session is where you would put the money. which investments within the Southeast Asia that could create economic resilience. I think because of the strength of each domestic economy and two countries have more than 40 million tourism of international tourism, be it Malaysia and Thailand. So the domestic economies boosted by tourism would create a need for still the consumer sector to be strong. So Chandran introduced me to consumptionomics in the past, and through his second book of Sustainable State, I think many of those focus areas that we discuss within those books are going to be key sectors where we should be looking to see economic growth and where to invest in 2025. So consumer goods still going to be very, very focused, in particular in relations to food. Indonesia is now focusing on how to be more self-sufficient in food. And the second pillar is energy. And with the push towards sustainability, the new and renewable energies, how we could use that to replace fossil-based energy sources that we have in Asia would be one areas of where you see the economic growth and strength going forward. And finally, I think in some part of Southeast Asia, you see the economic resilience is being built also based on how we build infrastructures to improve connectivity, not just physical connectivity through roads, airports, and seaports, but also digital connectivity. And these three key areas, I think you see many subsectors behind it, including the creative economy, that would show remarkable strengths and ability to bring positive, above market positive returns to investors. So in conclusions, I'm very optimistic that we could boost our economic resilience in 2025, and innovations in these various sectors will be a key components to it. From my experience in the private sectors doing business and investments, and on the public sectors making policies work, I think it's government should listen more to the private sectors, and I think it's a good idea. Trump introduced this government efficiency, because in some areas within the government, in particular my experience in Indonesia, we see many inefficiencies. As much as 30% of the government budgets is not being allocated to the betterness of the people. So there's a lot of room improvement there. And I think through innovations, we would be able to identify some of the sectors that we could increase our value added in order for us to have a better 2025. So with that, maybe I close my opening remarks. Thank you, Chandran, for allowing me to be the guest in the Touchstone webinar, and over to you, Chandran.
Well, thank you. It definitely takes someone who comes from the private sector with government experience to give the breadth of insights that you just shared with us in 15, 20 minutes. So really, and of course, someone who's also steeped in the culture and history to tell us about the Songkok and the Baju and also the Pantun. So If you don't mind, we would like to use that first pontoon in the future. But thank you so much. So the questions are coming in, but I got a couple of things that I'd like to ask you. For the benefit of the audience, really to understand resilience, we can talk about it as concepts. But as you know, having been within government, it's all about implementation. And Indonesia is, if I'm not mistaken, probably the country with the greatest amount of islands in the world, disparate populations spread across a vast archipelago. So, I think it'd be useful if you could take just a few minutes to tell us what are the real challenges of building that kind of resilience you're talking about through all the islands and the disparate population, the vast population. I mean, how does the government handle that? How does it get the private sector involved? Just for instance, ports, roads, electricity, schools, food security. It's a big question, but I'm sure you have insights. But I think people don't, probably many of us, don't really appreciate that scale of the challenge, which is very different from a Singapore. And I'm not anyway belittling the incredible achievements of Singapore. It's very different from Malaysia, which is, kind of unified through the main peninsula and, of course, the Sabah and Sarawak. Please, if you could give us a bit of an insight into that.
Well, you would not have to imagine the sheer size of Indonesia as a country with 17,000 islands, with more than 700 ethnic groups, with known languages, including local dialects, close to 1,000. So from the westernmost part, which is the island of Sabang, this is within the province of Aceh, you will need to fly 3 hours to the center, to Jakarta. And then from Jakarta to the easternmost of Merauke, you need to fly 7 hours. So in total, the length of the travel is humongous. And I think the archipelago of 17,000 islands created more challenges because the infrastructure is mostly built in Java, where 60% of the population stays, and around 20% in Sumatra, and the rest 20% is spread from Borneo to Sulawesi, Papua, and other parts of Indonesia. And it is clearly one bold statement by President Jokowi last 5 years to actually make a decisions to move the capital to central part of Indonesia, which is part of Kalimantan, Borneo, and we call it Nusantara. So it is not just moving the capital away, but more of a statement that Indonesia is not just Java, but Indonesia is this archipelago that embodies Nusantara, and that we would build the country more, I would say, across the archipelago, and how we could be building with equity, be it in the west or eastern part of Indonesia. That's the reality. The challenge of the government is how that this very diverse, unique countries, and I remember I was working together in a project with one very famous economist post 1997 Asian financial crisis, who's telling me, and he was telling me in front of a team of 20 that we're trying to acquire one of a large company in Indonesia on M&A situations. He said that Indonesia is going to face a huge challenge because sub $1,000 GDP per capita, too many islands, populations is too big, and the economy that is really at that time struggling to handle the Asian financial crisis. With a full-fledged democracy, it's going to be completely chaotic. And I say, why? So there's no other situations that could present these challenges. And it is going to be very difficult for Indonesia to navigate this. So 25 years later, now we're in 2025, Indonesia is not only registering $4,000 GDP per capita, we're also continuing to have democracy, full-fledged democracy. And then we have now been part of the upper tier middle income country. And within 20 years, if all the economic policy and the growth continue, that we will be joining the developed countries by 2045, 100 years of our independence. So the challenges that the government was faced during the last 20 years of 25 years of democratizations have actually been able to be assisted by how resilient are Indonesians, including the theme of Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, which is unity in diversity, and Gotong Royong, which just means that nothing is impossible if you work together. And this is, I think, going to continue to be the color of how we embrace innovations, adaptations, and collaborations in order to continue our struggle through the next 20 years to be a developed country.
Well, thank you. That's a great introduction into the history and the focus, and particularly the bold decision of the former president to move, which will have long implications over a long period of history. The questions are coming in. One that I would like to ask you to, and this is very much related to resilience from the point of managing the rich, diverse natural resources of Indonesia, as you know. And there is so much focus right now, particularly with the global rush for metals and all of that into Indonesia, as well as the increasing trade, well, can I say, I don't want to call it barriers, but some protectionism with regard to agricultural produce, palm oil, etc. So the question is, how does Indonesia, but also, if you could give us some of your views on ASEAN. Malaysia, where I come from, has some of the same problems, but not so much on the mineral side, but the other side. So dependent upon the regional exports. How can we balance the economic needs, as you said, the good jobs, etc., with at the same time the challenge of the sustainability and the livelihoods of people from the point of view of access to materials, clean water, air, and all of those things. So how does Indonesia and ASEAN manage that? Is it inevitable that there will be a period where we continue with this sort of difficulties, or is it possible to manage both at the same time?
It is possible to manage both at the same time. Achieving the growth should not be at the cost of sustainability. And I think your book, which is right here with me, always a very good reference, shown that building a very strong foundations on our growth and sustainability could produce economic resilience. And economic resilience is the ability to withstand, to be firm, and also recover. And we've shown it during the pandemic how we recover together, and we recover stronger, and continue to grow in the face of various challenges. So yes, there are global crisis, there are trade tensions, there are geopolitics, there are technological disruptions and other changes. But I think through economic resilience and innovations at the core, we could maintain stability, ensure sustainability, and create opportunities for all segments of the society. And I think for ASEAN, we need to stand together. There's 10 countries. I know there are issues, the South China Seas issues, and also other issues involving ASEAN. But I think in the spirit of the founding fathers of ASEAN, we could actually, through brotherhood, be able to tackle all the challenges together as a unified community. Secondly, and I'm speaking it as I see the ASEAN Secretariat in front of me, is that I'm yes. And for businesses, I think it is even because businesses have the flexibility and have the ability to innovate and adapt quicker and to leverage the potentials of cross countries collaborations, and the challenges could be met much easier by the business sectors. But for governments, now this is something because of political cycle. There's also rhetoric of speaking about trying to close your market, trying to be more nationalistic. But that's just a flavor, because I come from now, after 10 years of political experience, that actually at the end of the day, you see what is in the best interest of your country, and the best interest of your country is producing good quality jobs and maintaining affordable cost of living, prices of goods to your people. And with closing your borders, you're definitely not going to achieve that. And how government could develop policies based on, and this is something that I kept on telling my team at the ministry and as well as at the local government, that we need to be data driven. We need to be evidence based, because policies and delivering policies and implementing the policies without data is complete disaster. You need to make sure that the data that you got are tested, and we can no longer grow at we have to have inclusive growth. We cannot just grow and at the expense of many of the areas untouched. So no one should be left behind, in particular with infrastructure development, because I think there's a lot of issues having private sectors involved. And this is where private sector should be involved through a public-private partnership, and also empowering the micro, small, medium enterprises. And for society at large, and to answer your questions, I think educations, healthcare, this is something that employment opportunities and the entrepreneurial prospects, including the growth of the mom and pops, especially the womanpreneur. A lot of people, you've met with them within our network of circle of is going to play a significant role going forward.
All right, thank you. We've got about 15 minutes, and I've got many questions here, but I got a quick question for you from someone who said, Sandi, thank you for your time. I would like to hear your views on the outlook for sustainable finance, and therein a lot of people talk about green finance or sustainable finance in Indonesia and the wider ASEAN. If you'd like to respond, at least for Indonesia, I think this would be a great benefit to the audience. Your views on the outlook for sustainable finance, given your points about particularly food security, energy, and those things, infrastructure.
Well, earlier, we received the news that there's some setback, that ESG financing has been rendered a defeat by, I think, one of the courts in the US. But I believe that sustainable financing, which is part of this whole environmental, sustainable, and governance, are going to be here to stay. In 2007, when I first started this ESG compliant through all our investing and financing, many raised their eyebrows. They say that this is not gonna be successful because you are going to limit the areas where we could invest and where we could finance. But true enough, after more than 15 years, we see more and more people are mainstream into this sustainable financing. And I think it should not come at killing some of the established businesses, but it's just going to push for businesses to adapt to a more sustainable way of technologies and doing business. And I think going back to innovations, and this is where innovations will be at the core of every business model that would allow sustainable development goals, be it in the private or public sectors, could be assisted by sustainable financing. But the way should be inclusive, not exclusive, meaning that you should not just exclude all the business that have not embraced sustainability from your financing areas of focus, but you should allow business to come in and give time to be able to adopt some of these sustainable practices, some of these greener technologies. So the culture of innovations should continue to be fostered at every level of organizations. And I think you need to invest more in your people, invest more in human resource development, and I think you will find impactful solutions for sustainable financing.
I really like your point about, don't have a take it or leave it sort of approach and have sustainable or green finance or ESG financing, saying, well, you don't meet the criteria, you're bad boys, therefore you're out. Some companies, and particularly in in Asia, Africa, etc., coming from a lower base, and the only way we can do what we hope to do and achieve is to also bring them in, as you say, and embrace all of these things. Another question here is to do with the ASEAN region, if you don't mind me expanding the conversation a bit. One question that someone asked was, could you, in your experience, being with the government and working internationally for the government as well, expand on, say, just elaborate on, say, two, three sectors that ASEAN collaboration could be kind of dialed up and improved. And one area that, and this is my part of the question I'm adding in, do you think there should be more intra-region investments rather than always looking to Europe or Asia, etc.? And I'm hoping my dear friends in Singapore also listening. Thank you.
I'm a big believer in intra-ASEAN investments. When I manage my portfolio in the past, some of our co-collaborators have been from Singapore, the Temaseks, the GICs, also from Malaysia, EPF, Kazanas, also QUAP, and from Thailand, we partners with EGAT, also from the Philippines, some of the geothermal and renewable energies companies, very progressive companies from the Philippines, we are working together with. So, the low-hanging fruits that we have within ASEAN is to go to each other markets, understand what you're good at, and sort of like be able to collaborate. And I think the areas that we should look at is the accelerations and the diversifications of digital transformations, including AI, which is, I think, going to be a huge impact in terms of producing the welfare for the people. So I believe this areas is one a huge potential, humongous opportunities that we should be focused. Secondly, it's actually building supply chain resilience. Now, most of the time, whenever we are going to talk about our supply chain, we don't see it next door. We actually go to see potential coming in supplies from Europe, from the United States, maybe because of cost. But through COVID, we understand that cost is not just the thing, but um, being uh, being resilient of your supply chain is making proximity to your supply also is very important. So building a supply chain resilience is key. And I think investments in uh, human resources, healthcare, and sustainability. When I was in tourism, people say tourism is a zero sum game because Thailand is fighting with Malaysia and Indonesia for the same tourists worldwide. I said no. We should look at it as ASEAN as a single destinations. People who comes and visit Thailand, we should be able to lure them to maybe spend one more week in Malaysia, another few days in Bali or Yogyakarta. So we look at how we could, as together as a community, ASEAN, to offer a much better service for tourism because post-COVID, people travel less, but they stay longer in destinations. So that's, I think, the areas that is so, because a lot of people challenge, can you build an ASEAN brand? I said, you can, definitely, but you have to make sure that the ASEAN brand would also respect local culture, local wisdom. For instance, Bangkok Bank, they acquire Permata Bank here. Do they change the name to Bangkok Bank? No, they keep Permata Bank because Permata in Indonesian language and culture means jewel. Everybody wants to have jewel in your family. So local culture, local wisdom should be the case when you are thinking about how you build businesses across ASEAN.
Well, this is a really rich conversation about culture and commerce. I love the example that you just gave about Bangkok Bank not changing the name. I think comes back to your opening remarks about the long history of cultural assimilation and integration, and also the tourism bit. As you say, it's not a zero-sum game. You know, go for a few days in Indonesia, the world's the largest Muslim population, and then go to Thailand, to a Buddhist country, and experience that, and then come to multicultural Malaysia, and then you can go to Singapore, which has everything that you'd expect of a very advanced economy, and I totally agree with you. We got a few more minutes, only about 5 or 6 minutes. Here's a question about what are the most promising areas for innovation in ASEAN that could significantly contribute to economic resilience in the coming years? If you could point to one or two areas that there are innovation in ASEAN and collaboration that would contribute to economic resilience.
I think it goes back to the two areas that you mentioned. How our economy is based in consumptions in Indonesia and some parts of ASEAN countries' domestic economies, how you could build the most efficient and the most effective way to deliver goods that create good quality jobs at an affordable prices in the scale of ASEAN as a region. And I think that goes back to the same idea that we mentioned earlier. Economic resilience is going to be achieved through innovations, adaptations, and collaboration. So the key aspects is collaborations, which I believe we have not really focused from policymakers all the way to the business innovators within the ASEAN community. And because of the presence of technology, another most obvious one is how we could see technology having a 360 degree influence in terms of our livelihood, our daily livelihood. And this is with Gen Z, because we are not just facing ASEAN as different countries and different culture, but they are intergenerational. In Indonesia, in my company, we have 3 generations. We have the baby boomers already retiring, but the Gen X that I represent, the Gen Millennial, and the Gen Z. How intergenerational within the ASEAN can work together cross-border, because they would share the same experience and same values. Although they are different cultures, but for instance, Gen Z lived through pandemic and they embrace technology from the get-go. They are the first digital native generations. How Gen Millennial that go through the change of 1999 to the year of 2000s, they would be able also among their generations to be able to provide a better output for ASEAN. And finally, I think the areas of the role of women. Indonesia is one of very few countries in ASEAN that has been led by a woman president. But now Thailand is led by a woman prime minister. Philippines has been used to led by a woman prime ministers. Even the United States, as one of the oldest democracy, have not had a chance to have a woman president. So this is where ASEAN can show to the world that we've managed these gender issues. We've, as young democracies, compared to other developed nations, we are giving women the ability to rise and shine.
And yes, it's a good reminder that, and with all the cultural differences and the cultural sensitivities, those things have still managed to happen, and we should celebrate whilst continuing to improve. So my last question, and to those who've got many more questions, please forgive me if I haven't been able to put your questions forward. But if there's enough popular demand, I will get on my knees and beg Pak Sandi to come back. But here's one last question, Pak Sandi, and that is, what advice would you give to foreigners? And that we don't mean just coming from Europe or the US, but it could include, but even those from the region who are coming to Indonesia. It's without doubt an attractive rising star in the world. What advice would you give someone who has investment aspirations, wants to come and start a company, wants to explore, and how do I work with partners? That's the question. 2 or 3, the most important things to keep in mind as a foreigner who wants to collaborate and with Indonesian partners.
This goes to not only foreigners coming from outside Southeast Asia, but also Southeast Asia, and including through to Indonesian investors, that you invest in people, because you would see how the strength of the numbers that you produce are actually behind those numbers are the people. So find the right people and focus on 3 criteria. First is integrity. And more now, people see through that integrity is one non-negotiable aspect of you making investments and starting a business. Second is look for your partners, people with passion, that they're not just working for the money, for their own pockets, but they're working for a sense of purpose. And through new way of this psychology and different type of testing, you could find that people with passions. And third, I would say that embrace local culture. This is something that may sometimes be overlooked, but embracing local culture could, in a way, allow you to avoid some of the fumble, some of the trouble that you would see when you invest and create business. And finally, never judge your investments on a quarter-to-quarter basis. These are hundreds of years region. This, as I mentioned on Nusantara, Majapahit, values are built through generations. So the way you look at it should not be from quarter to quarter, should not be just looking at annual reports, but see what type of values you're giving to your 360 stakeholders.
That's gold dust, the last bit, coming from perhaps one of the most successful private equity investors. For those who don't know, Sandi started his firm, I believe, at the age of 29, Pa. You were very young. And one of the most successful investors in Indonesia, building it from scratch. You heard it live. He just said, please don't be bogged down by quarterly results. And that is so good. And also, finally, that you ended on what we at GIFT and GIFT.ed believe in, which is advancing humanity through the purposeful economy. And I think everything you said today, I hope, allow the audience to understand that, yes, as business leaders, investors, there are all of those things about returns, etc. But take a long-term view, be purposeful, build resilient societies, and contribute. So thank you so much, Bob, for your wonderful contributions. I wish we could speak more, but I'll come to Jakarta to see you again. And thank you once again. And we use this pantun. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Oh, I'll give you 2 more pantuns.
Yes, please.
And these are for Chandran and Rohan. Gather the stars, let moonlight thrive. The sky's embrace will always rain. Innovations keeps our dreams alive. Let's adapt and create and rise again. Final one, on clear waters, the boat will glide. Under the stars, our dreams are spun. Resilience, innovations, and unity collide. Together with GIFT.ed, the best is yet to come.
Wow, thank you so much. What we will do is certainly steal that from you if you don't mind, but we will copyright you and share that on the internet with all our friends. And once again, I thank you. You look most elegant in your wonderful shirt and that song coat. Thank you.
Thank you very
much. Thank you. Thank you. Rohan, over to you.
Thank you, Chandran. Thank you so much. Rohan here. So thank you all for your participation in today's session. Before we wrap up, I'd just like to take a moment to, of course, thank Pak Sandi and his team. He's just left the call for joining us today. And to remind those of you who have the opportunity to use GIFT.ed to scan the QR code and to take the opportunity to take a look at the login page. And for those of you who don't yet have access but are interested in GIFT.ed, you can just drop me an email at rohan.hazel@gift-ed.com. So to repeat, scan the QR code, it'll take you to the login page. And I know there are a lot of you on this call that have access to GIFT.ed that haven't yet signed up. So please do. And for those of you who are interested, just drop me an email. We have world-class content and expert insights like today's insights And these are all designed to help you build a mindset for long-term success aligned with the global shifts that shape your industry and your country. We're continually updating the platform, and particularly in this year, we have some really exciting new content and things planned. So do keep in touch and keep tuned. All right, that's it from me, everyone. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the GIFT.ed platform or in the next Touchstone webinar. Thanks, everyone. Ciao.